Welcome on into another episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I am Jason Ashcraft, joined this week by Rupesh and Coach, as Rupesh is violently waving his camera around. I gotta say, Rupesh, last week you inspired me. You were rocking your Norden hockey jersey. I think it was last year's edition, the all blue. So this year I had to bust out the all orange Norden edition, the custom with my number and my name on it. Welcome on in. How you doing, Rupesh?
I'm good. Good day. At least we got a point out of Charlotte, so that wasn't bad. I survived another cardiac game, so plus 50 and surviving watching their games. That's a plus. So,
and cardiac games seem to be the order of the day a lot of times with this team. Coach, thank you for stepping in and being a last minute sub. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm worried because normally I watch the match basically 2.5 times before I come on, and I didn't get to do that. So I'm gonna have to try to keep up with you and Rupesh and your vast knowledge here, and I'm not gonna have all my tactical notes.
I don't know how much vast knowledge, but I am gonna put you on the spot as we open up, as we always do, with what's hot and what's cold, brought to you by Apollo Home. Coach, what is your hot thing for the week?
I'm gonna go with maybe a perceived embarrassment of riches for Pat Noonan all of a sudden with bodies coming back, and maybe this is the curse that I'm going to place on the team here. But yeah, and we're going to talk about it later. There's actually some lineup decisions that are going to be hard to make, and usually for the past few years, it seems like the starters, when healthy, have kind of written themselves in ink, and there's not even really options. So interesting that all of a sudden you have a couple different midfield configurations, a couple different back lines, even up top. There's players performing at a level where there's questions. So I think that's pretty hot.
Awesome. Rupesh, give me your hotness for the week.
My temper, especially there between like the 50th and 53rd minutes. It was pretty bad. I probably wore a track in the flooring down here in the downstairs watching the game. I'm surprised that Chris didn't come down here to check on me to make sure I hadn't hurt myself the way I was screaming and yelling. But yeah, my temper was pretty hot in the second half this weekend.
I don't blame you. That was not a fun 90 seconds. We've got some comments from YouTube. Boom 1295. I don't know your name. Andre Chirilla looking like our top center back at 17. That's his hot. We've got Edmund Taylor on Facebook. Hot Andre looks like a permanent starter. You guys are kind of talking a little bit about what we're going to be talking about later, because like Coach said, there's an embarrassment of riches. And for me, my hotness for the week was Dado Valenzuela coming in and playing that low-lying midfielder, backing up Evander a little bit, doing a little box-to-box work and moving Buka out to the right wing-back position. I got to say, guys, Dado looks like a much, probably to Pat Noonan's chagrin, looks like a guy who has earned a lot more playing time, at least in my humble opinion, over the past couple of weeks. We'll go back around the horn. Coach, what was your cold thing for the week?
Somewhere Brian Biedenbach is dancing that Dado has finally arrived. Also, before I get to my first cold, since, we let Jose do it with the honorable mentions, I'm going to say my first cold, which is actually kind of hot, is Jason asking for Rupesh's hotness, which I hope if we ever do one of those intros where there's like voices, like I hope we have Jason be like, Rupesh, give me your hotness, because that was pretty great. I mean, cold. Yeah. No, my actual cold for real, guys, is I'm calling it halftime team talks, but really it's so often whether to start the game or at halftime. As a coach, it's not basketball or football. You can't time out. You can't call timeouts. You're not pulling subs in and out to talk to players. You have such precious little time to affect changes to your team. And so it is inexcusable that this team seems to come out of the locker room, whether in the beginning of the game or at halftime, so flat, so often. Like whatever happened to the soccer that when we played as youngsters, it was like first 5 minutes, you want to get a foul, you want to get a shot on goal, like first five, now it's like, guys, just kind of jog around for 15, 20 minutes, save your energy. I'm imagining that's the team talk, because this team was asleep out of the locker room.
It was a rough start to the second half. I'm going to jump ahead of Rupesh because that's kind of where my mind was. Cold was the defense for that 90 seconds that Rupesh talked about and coach like you talked about, coming out flat. You know, that's one of those things that has been FC Cincinnati's bugaboo this year. They can't, we'll talk about it later, but it seems like sometimes they can't keep a string of good defense going the entire match. And when they have a mental lapse, it happens in bunches. Rupesh, what's cold, my man?
To me, it was the takes I was seeing going around that somehow Miles Robinson was to blame for this game being a tie, which
that
I
makes
don't get.
No sense.
Which makes no sense because he didn't come in until after the second goal was scored by Charlotte. But I saw it out there. I saw it in Norton Discord, and I've heard people say that people were saying it throughout the socials for FCC that somehow this was Miles mistakes, or that Miles was the cause of this, and I don't get where that's coming from.
No, and you look at, like you mentioned, he came in after the goals were over, and it's not like the Garys didn't have a chance to tie or take the lead later in the match. Kenji had a good look on goal, a header that didn't go in. You know, there was a few really good plays on offense. I mean, to me, there's no blame to be given really to Miles Robinson. And in my opinion, he probably should have started.
I think hands down and without a doubt, it's not even close. Miles Robinson is the best defender on this team and one of the best all-around players. I think so often we fail to take count of our internal biases, and we see players that are from a different culture than us, or act a different way, or look a different way than us, and we automatically ascribe to them like laziness. Or it happens with Evander too, right? He's like kind of languid on the ball and chill, and people say lazy. And yet we get these like young, plucky upstart Brett Halsey types that are just like kind of buzzing around. We're like, this guy's the greatest ever because he works so hard.
Coach, don't do that to my boy.
Coach. I had to. Anyway, just my 2 cents. I think Miles has had a great season. I think that with him back to 100% health when that happens, this team will be way better for it. And I'm so glad he got minutes on the field because he is a key cog going forward for this team.
Yeah, and hopefully he can get some time with the national team.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of good comments here in the chat. Edmund Taylor, again, his cold of the week, sloppy passing in the middle of the field, 100%. We're going to talk about that. We got another one from YouTube with BMM 1295. Cold, Evander getting snubbed for player of the match in favor of Pep Biel.
Pep Biel. Yeah, Pep Biel.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I guess being responsible for both goals in spirit, it just ain't enough. And this one, guys, FC and Bittlinger. I'm going to read this out because on the podcast, y'all need to understand this as well. So here we go. What was hot was my anger driving 11 hours to Charlotte because a truck wrecked on and Tennessee troopers let people drive to Hanford to turn around and have to go back to I-81 and then drive 2-lane back roads to Tennessee and North Carolina. Cold, being up 2 at the half and not holding on to the lead, but the trip was great. Stayed at a hotel with the team and cheering them on to the bus. It was great to see Noonan coaching Evander as they walked off the pitch. I've watched it in the past, I've watched in past Evander not really absorbing it, but it was a tactical conversation they were having. So FC Bittlinger, I am sorry you had the terrible traffic. I've had that happen on trips before. It is never fun. That was your What's Hot, What's Cold, brought to you by our good friends at Apollo Home. And just remember, for a limited time, take advantage of Apollo's spring deal. A new AC unit for as low as $99 a month. Stay hot or stay cold when it's hot. Stay hot when it's cold. Or on days like today, do both because it's a little cold half the day, a little warm the other. Big thanks to Apollo Home for all of their support for Cincinnati Soccer Talk. So let's dive into the Battle of the Queen Cities, FC Cincinnati 2, Charlotte FC 2. We'll start off with your lineup. Your standard lineup that we've seen roll out, the 3-5-2, the 5 in the back, whatever you want to call it. Roman Celentano, of course, in goal. Your back three of Nick Hagland, Matt Miazga, and Andre Chirilla. Your midfield is Ramirez Guidi, Evander, Dado, and Pavel Buka, with Kinji Mombadem up top, along with Kevin Denke. Guys, I'll just throw it out to the group here. When you saw this lineup, especially with um, especially with the two veterans on the back line coming back in with Hagland and Miazga, what were your initial thoughts?
My first thought was, oh, I hope that Zaha doesn't torch Dado and Buka for speed, because Buka is not the quickest out there. He's out there for other reasons, and Hagland is not the quickest out anywhere. So I was worried about team speed, and I think it did come to pass on the first Charlotte goal, or that was actually the second Charlotte goal, when Diani, who's not a speedster himself, just torched Buka in behind. I think Nick Hagland provides a really good presence in a lot of ways. But again, Hagland, Miazga next to him, Buka in front of him, like that is just a slow chunk of field right there.
Yeah, but I did feel a little bit better having Matt in there to direct the defense. Having Andre play in the center the 2 games before that, just a young kid playing in the center of the back three is a little scary. I think he did great, but that, just that is scary. And having Matt there, at least you knew you had a person direct the action for the defense. So that felt good to me. I didn't even worry about the speed because I just didn't think about it, Coach. But you're right. When you have those guys on the right hand side of the defense, you're opening yourself up to just get attacked on that side by speedsters.
Yeah, it's interesting with Chirilla playing left center back. I thought it would really open up the passing lanes for him, because typically your outside center backs have a much more ability to step forward and make those passes. But Charlotte actually adjusted their defense and left kind of Miazga back there with the ability to quarterback, and more pressed on Chirilla and didn't really press on Hagland. They shifted that way. So it's interesting that maybe the coaching staff did not anticipate that teams would already try and be account for a kid like that, and did not look to exploit it. But I wonder if going forward, if that's something the coaching staff's going to have to consider.
We had Pavel Buka move out to the right wing back, and Dado drop into that kind of deeper midfield spot. I thought he played really well. Overall, I think he really helped move the ball forward. He was looking good in offense. Rupesh, what did you see from Dado? Because I feel like we didn't talk about him enough last week, so we're going to make up for that this week.
I agree with you. I saw him coming back and making plays to break up plays too. So he's getting back there. It seems like a good fit, which I would have never thought. And I'm trying to think back to when he was on the 2 team, if he played more of an 8 instead of a 10, because I just can't remember, but he seems good at it. I think, Coach, you've said that he's good in the dribbling in tight spaces and stuff, which might make him better for a 10, but he seems like a pretty good fit in an 8 role, and maybe seeing more of the field, it helps open up his passing. I don't know, but that's what I've been seeing. And so, yeah, I like him there. I can see him being a 10 also. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty good fit for him.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he can't be good at the 8. I think he's playing really well there. Yeah. I guess the question that you had asked last show and in the notes or in the comments was, is this his new position sort of thing? Is he better for this? And I think he's showing well, because exactly what you said, more of the field in front of him, dropped a bit deeper. He's being able to show his passing range, not always having to receive on the half turn, getting 3 touches when he's playing further up the field, he's only getting 2. So I think that slows the things down for him. I'm just saying his skill set to me screams what I would call pocket winger. So not a traditional 10 where he's the whole field, but more like a dual 10 in that old sword formation that we've seen, or like a pocket winger, somebody who is nominally a winger, but floats inside and sits in those half spaces, kind of like in front of the center backs behind the opposing defensive midfielders.
I am curious why, maybe it's a defensive thing, but why Pat Noonan rolled out Buka on the right wing, did not play Ender in that starting role on the right wing back, and maybe didn't. I mean, I'm just playing around on FC26. I might put Dado in that right wing back position. I mean, why do you think, Coach, that Buka was chosen for that role over some of the other players?
I mean, it's funny because I actually kind of put out there in our Slack chat, people were like, Buka is awesome out there and roundly considered. Pat said he's out there because he's played really well out there. And I put out there before the game, I think it's got to be an attitude or something with Ender because Buka has not looked good out there, is what I said. And then Buka just made me eat my words because he was really good in this game. And I do think for me, even in the other games when he wasn't as good, it's about his technical ability. The way Brian Ramirez can hit those long diagonals to Buka and he just settles them down like it's nothing. It's like every touch seems to be good. And he's not playing killer balls. He's not making like key passes or setting up crosses, but every touch of his seems to be like a good touch and then a recycled play. And you saw it in one of the goals we're going to talk about later, where he not only made the pass to Evander, but he also got into the box and started the whole sequence that then they swung it side to side. So I think the technical ability and his ability to progress the ball from wide areas is different than Ender. I still think Ender has higher upside as like a total threat because Buka can do the things he does from a midfield position too. But when you have more guys on the field, when you have Dado and Buka out there, which is what ends up happening when you shift the midfield, you have more guys out there that can pass and progress. And that's been a huge issue for FC Cincinnati this year, is just an inability to move the ball back to front without just hitting long balls.
It's amazing what happens when you put guys out there who can pass.
Yeah.
Two chances created, at least this is what FotMob says, for Pavel Buka. And this is a guy who is trying to make maybe a last minute pitch to go to the World Cup for his country. So, and I just looked at tickets for their opening games down in Atlanta. It's getting more affordable if you want to maybe check out Buka.
So you only have to sell one kidney now?
Yeah,
that's
only one. You
one?
only need one, really.
Yeah.
We'll get to that to the scoring here. Kevin Denke finished off a poacher's goal in the 36th minute that was created a lot by we mentioned Buka, but also Evander there. It was a free kick that may have gone over the line. I don't know. But then of course, Denke being right on top of it to put it away. Rupesh, a lot of talk was made last year of getting Evander and Denke on the same page. Past few weeks, though, it seems like these guys are communicating pretty darn well.
Yeah, I agree. You're seeing them feed each other. This, like you said, it was a poacher's goal, fox in the box kind of thing, but he followed it up, which is, I mean, that's what a good striker does, is know that you got to follow up the free kick just in case. And like you said, it may have gone in already on Evander's free kick, but getting in there, that's just something a striker knows to do. And I love when you see people like Tim Ream raise their hand after he scores the goal, like he's offside. It's like, Tim, he was on your back. What are you talking about? You just didn't see him. So
I absolutely hate it when
I don't understand when they do that. But no, I thought it was a great follow-up. So can't complain. And yeah, they look a lot better as teammates this year than they did last year for sure.
Coach, was it in? Did it cross the line?
I don't think that it crossed the line, but I think that the conversation is more, should MLS be keeping up with the other leagues? They talk about wanting to be a big league and maybe even throw out top 5 or something. Well, like, I mean, goal line technology is not that difficult to put in play at this point. Like, it's been around a lot longer than VAR or anything.
Yeah.
And so like not having it just seems like, choosing to not use electricity or, something else that everybody is just like, yeah, this is part of what we do now.
Josh Dye doing the Lord's work there as producer, showing us the replay. You can't tell on the replay if it went in, but I'm with you, Coach. I mean, if Horizon League volleyball can have instant replay, there is no reason why Major League Soccer doesn't have goal line technology at this point.
There's one reason. When there's a decision made like this, there's only one reason. It's going to cost them money. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's what I'm saying. If Horizon League can have replay for volleyball, it costs money, but yeah. I'm going to pop this comment up real quick because we will talk about him a little bit more later, but Kenji Mobadem getting the start did not look as productive as he has in some games, according to FC Bittlinger. Coach, what did you see from Kenji in this game?
Man, I think the kid just has such good feet Like if you watch his touches and like the quickness of how he moves, it's back when I was coaching college. Like when you go to recruit kids and you see them playing against like, and they're the best player on the field, and you're like, how do you really know how good they are? Like you watch their feet, how the quickness, the speed between first touch and second touch when they're dribbling. And Kenji's got it. He's got great feet. I think he's lacking end product, which I think comes with time, you know, like he's not creating a lot of shots for himself. He had the one where he turned onto his left foot and hit a good shot on frame and forced Kalina into like a relatively safe save, but Kalina didn't catch it. And those are the kinds of things that can end up in the back of the goal. So I think he's doing well. And I think it will be an absolute crime if he stops getting major minutes. Do I think he's a starter forever? I don't know. But for sure, he needs to be getting minutes because it's the only way you're going to know if he is going to start to round into the type of player that can finish those plays off.
I thought statistically speaking, maybe not his best game, but coach, I agree. I think he brings a lot of dynamism to that position that we were kind of lacking with some of the other guys on the team. And I think he's made Kevin Denke look a lot better, which is a real testament to how he's been playing. All right. FC Cincinnati goes up 2-0 before the half by a really nice assist by Pavel Buka to Evander. And I don't know if you guys saw the reaction that both, I think Kenji had it and then Kevin Denke to Evander's goal. Both of them kind of did the I don't believe it, the surrender cobra. Yeah. I mean, it was like watching guys see someone throw down a massive dunk in basketball. Rupesh, last week, Evander burned, I can't even remember who he played last week, Chicago on a uncontested shot from the top of the box. Yep. Does it again. Winner MLS team's going to learn not to leave him unmarked at the top of the box.
Yeah, I mean, that and just perfect placement. Like he didn't put a lot of power on it. He just placed that perfectly to where I don't know if there's many keepers in the world that could have stopped that thing from going in. And you can't give him that much space. That's just, it's not going to work. That was horrible defense for sure.
Coach, talk a little bit about the build up to that goal. We mentioned Buka. It looks to me like, especially in the past few weeks, that he is being like one of the more productive assist creators, one of the more productive passers in the final third.
Yeah, I am fully on the data nerd version of, I think most assists. Assists is a terrible stat because most assists don't matter at all. Like you're the guy who kind of rolled the ball in front of the guy who can shoot it. I mean, some assists are great, but like just as a stat. So I think in terms of the opportunities he's creating, which is what you're getting at, I think he was not good for 2 matches, I think, in that. But this match he was really good. And what he's good at is that safety with the ball. So he gets played in the right-hand side of the box, and instead of slamming the ball off the defender for at best a corner kick, which is what most people do, or instead of cutting the ball and trying to dribble through 8 guys like Ender does, he just stepped on it, pulled it back, swung it back around all the way over to the left to Brian Ramirez. Brian Ramirez, again, instead of just lobbing a ball into the box, puts his foot on it and plays it back to the right. It ends up back at Buka. Now the defense is going back and forth and trying to track runners at the same time. And that's how you leave a guy like Evander so wide open. Buka recognizes that before he even gets the ball. You can tell he's recognizing the way the defense is collapsing. Evander's going to be ready. So then he just does the easy bit, which is play it to Evander. Right. So I think that game recognition, I think that technical ability, and I think that patience with the ball is what sets him apart as a player, not even necessarily just a right-sided wing back, but like as a player in general. I think he does that.
One thing I like, and again, we've got the kind of the build up here on the screen for those of you watching. One of the things I like, and this is something that always bothered me about FC Cincinnati, but now it seems like they're getting more touches in the box and they are moving the ball around the mouth of goal more often. And like you said, Coach, getting the defenders on their heels and making them move around and creating space.
I didn't get a chance to look at MLS analytics for this game because I know the last game they only had four touches or 4 passes into the box. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was this game. And I don't know, maybe now looks a little bit better, but I don't know if maybe teams are recognizing, they're clogging the box against FC Cincinnati because before we couldn't cross to save our lives or get it in there. But you're right, this game, they just when that buildup happened and all of a sudden it just got right there, like you said, coach, and Pavel makes the great, just gets the pass to Evander who's ready to go and puts in a perfect shot. It's great. I just don't know that we're getting the ball into the box that much, but we're at least making the defense move to, even if we have to shoot from the outside, at least we're getting a cleaner look. So,
yeah. FC Bittlinger again, he was at the match. In the stadium, it was like a knife in the back, but then came the second half.
Yeah.
So Coach talked about it a little bit in our What's Hot, What's Cold. Once again, coming out of the half, flat-footed, let me pull up the scoring here because I had it in front of me and then I stopped. So 51st minute, Toklamati with an assist by Tim Ream, a goal, and then not even 90 seconds later, Pep Biel ties it up 2-2. This mental lapses seem to happen a lot with this team. I will give them credit in this sense that it didn't become a floodgates open type situation, which we've seen happen more times than we want to count this year.
Agreed. I to me, the first goal, that happens. It was a corner kick that started the whole sequence. And when the ball got to Tim Ream, nobody watched the middle. Everybody was ball watching. And what's it, Tokamati? I don't know how to say his name. Got in there for that header. It was a great feedback in by Tim Ream, honestly, to get the forward on to put the ball in. The second goal is the one that kills me because the ball's way down in the Charlotte half, and I think Nick fouled somebody, and it's almost like the team turned off, and Westwood just was like, okay, we're going right now, and hit the free kick right away. And then, like Coach said earlier, we got burned down our right hand side, but it's almost like the team turned off on the free kick to me.
Yeah, them turning off is at once inexcusable. And also, I think, just because we love to bring up pro refereeing controversies on here, if you go back and actually watch the replay with audio, the referee blows his whistle like 40 times. Like he's blowing. And so FCC's looking like, what is going on? Is he giving a card? Yeah. And so then Westwood throws the ball down and plays it. The ball is also still moving. I watched it 10 times. It's still moving. So it's an illegal free kick. But again, as a coach, I'm saying, I don't care, guys. No excuses. You don't turn off. So the thing that I want to highlight there is as much as we love Buka as a player, he really shows his naivety as a right-sided defender because first of all, he doesn't fill in for Hagelin because Hagelin's the one who commits that foul. And then second of all, he's got his hips facing the wrong direction for that shot that allows Diani to burn him in on the flank. So I think those are the little things. Like, it's not huge mistakes like, oh, that was terrible by Buka. It was just like a real right-sided defender. An DeAndre Yedlin either doesn't let that happen or it's like inexcusable that it happens, right? And so you're going to take some of those lumps sometimes when you're playing guys for other reasons than their defense out there. Does Ender cover it? No, he probably doesn't get beat for speed though. So it's tough to say.
What did you think about Ramirez on that, Coach? Because it looked like he didn't close Pop Biel down either, and left him with space there in the middle of the box like that.
Yeah, it's a tough because like the right thing to do as a defender is to run at the ball and get as big as you can. But in practice, what every defender does is exactly what Ramirez does, which is kind of assume the blocking position, which is turning sideways and sticking a leg out, and hoping they hit you with it. So like as a coach, again, you're like, I mean, can we run right at that? But, most guys don't want to get hit. Most guys want to have kids some days, or at least have the opportunity for that. So running right at the ball generally makes that harder, or at least potentially harder.
I say cover up the giblets and throw your body right in front of it.
Nick Hagelin for sure would have, and that's the thing, right? That's why you love guys like that because, like you're wearing a hockey jersey. What do hockey players do? They don't stand up; they slide. Put your body in front of the puck, in front of the ball. Yeah. And so, like shrinking is not the right thing, but at the same time, I I don't fault him. If I was assigning percentages of blame, he would get a small chunk of that. But, I don't say it's like his fault.
Okay.
So we'll wrap up a little bit of our discussion here, but FC Cincinnati had a few chances to maybe take the lead. We talked a little bit about Kenji. Overall, though, it seemed to me in the second half, maybe I would have put Robinson on earlier. I'm just going to come out and say that. I would have maybe put him out a little earlier, maybe at halftime, and allowed his speed to play a factor there too. I think I like Miazga and I like Hagelin, but I think that's one of the issues is both of those guys just maybe have lost a step.
Yeah, but if you go ahead, you go ahead first.
No, I was just going to say, I think Pat came out and said that the Miles minute restriction, I think he said was about 30 minutes and he said they could push it to 40 or 45 or something. I forget the exact numbers, Root, maybe it. But essentially, if you have a guy that's on 45 minutes, you can't start him from the beginning of the second half. Cause if you get 10 minutes of stoppage time or something, you're not going to sub that guy back off.
No, I think he said something between 30 and 40 minutes. And he said that Matt was good to go for maybe 60. And I think that's why they made the substitution when they did, but it was exactly what you said, Coach.
Well, that about wraps it up, fellas. A point on the road. It feels a little bit to me like it's disappointing based on the first half, but anytime in MLS when you can get a point on the road, and FC Cincinnati is now sixth in the Eastern Conference, so solidly above the playoff line, right about where I think they need to be. We only have 2 weeks left until we go into the World Cup break, I think. So
points on the road, wins at home. That's what you need. And that makes you a very good team in MLS.
And just our history in Charlotte, coming away with a point in Charlotte, I'll take it because we just had, it's a horror show for us down there. So
it certainly is. So that brings us to our Go Beyond Player of the Week, brought to you by Go Beyond Exercise. Coach, hit me with your Player of the Week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a guy who's gotten a lot of billing already in this show, and I'm going to go with Pavel Buka, mostly just because I kind of torched him the past 2 weeks because I thought he was not very good on the ball out there as a right-sided defender. But, man, he was so good in this match, the defensive lapse notwithstanding, because like I said, as a coach, you go into that knowing that will happen with a midfielder playing out there. What he adds on the ball and with ball progression is so key. FC Cincinnati being a better than average attacking team. So, and because I'm always the hipster and can't go with the obvious pick, I'm going with Pavel Buka. Silence.
I muted myself. I was taking a drink and wanted to make sure y'all didn't hear some ASMR Jason drinking Diet Coke. Rupesh, who is your Go Beyond Player of the Week?
I think you got, for me, and I haven't given it to him the last couple of weeks, I've always been saying Andre, but I would say Evander, just passing that goal. I mean, I was just like the guys. I had O-face going on when that goal went in. So, I think it was Evander had a great game. Great free kick that led to the Kevin goal, and then his goal was just a thing of beauty. So I'd give it to him.
Awesome. I will once again give it to Dotto. I've talked enough about him, but I think it's showing real poise for him to come in and play a position that he's not necessarily familiar with as much and making an impact in the match. So there are your Go Beyond Players of the Week, brought to you by Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a Cincinnati physical therapy and fitness business that helps people of all ages stay active and fit. They also work with local MLS Next Pro athletes, and they are the official physical therapy provider of the Manu Ledesma Academy UPSL team. See how they can elevate your health and fitness at gobeyondexercise.com. I was actually at Buffalo Wild Wings a few weeks ago, and a guy sitting next to me at the bar, his kid is part of the Manu Ledesma Academy. So that was kind of cool. Cool that Manu is sticking around Cincinnati and trying to build up soccer here. All right, so segment 3, this is a last-minute segment edition, but I think it's kind of apt considering the changes we've seen to the lineup lately, and it's roster decisions, lineup decisions. And FC Biddingler brought this up in the chat. He says that he wishes we would go to a back four with Robinson, Chirilla on the outside, and Miazga and Hagelin in the center. Or if we stick 3 platoon, Hagelin and Miazga. Want to get your all's take on that, but he does bring a good point about Andre Chirilla, who has really stepped up and played well. And is he somebody that has maybe earned himself a more consistent starting spot? I'm just going to throw it out to the group here.
Yeah, I think that Chirilla needs to be playing game in and game out at this point. And certainly he doesn't have to start every game because you can rotate him out, get him some rest. He's still young. You don't want to throw him to the wolves, so to speak, but he has shown poise on the ball. He has shown passing ability, and he's only going to get better because he is so young. He's a left-sided, left-footed defender. I think he gives you the best chance if you want to go to a back four. With only 2 center backs, though, FC Bittlinger, not 4 of them. He gives you the best chance to play him and Robinson as 2 center backs in a back four. If you ever actually get real fullbacks to play on the team, that he's the only other center back other than Robinson that I think can be good there. So I would continue to roll him out game in and game out.
Yeah, and I agree with Coach. You got to let Andre play. I might sit him against Miami this week just because I'd be afraid of what Messi might do to him. But in general, I say throw him out there and see what the kid can do. If he makes a mistake, he's a 17-year-old kid. He's going to make mistakes. We know this, but just his raw talent and the potential, you have to let him keep going. Well, play your kids is one of the things I believe in. So yeah, let's play the kid and see how he does.
Another kid that we've talked about a lot is Kenji Mombadem, and we wax poetic about him. But one of the things that I think is very interesting is that you've got, Ayoub Jabari was injured, so he wasn't able to play this week, but you've got Ayoub Jabari, you've got Tom Barlow, and Tom Barlow is a veteran MLS player. Ayoub Jabari is a $1 million transfer fee from the second division of France. And nothing, I'm a big fan of draft picks, nothing against super draft picks. They sometimes really pay off, but a guy who is a University of Dayton alum draft pick is beating them out for minutes. Coach, do you think Kenji is a in ink starter at this point? Or do you think maybe this is just kind of good to see, and maybe he's somebody you can bring in off the bench?
I think that as a coach, my forward position very rarely has inning starters. Obviously, you have Kevin Denke, and that's different. But other guys, when you're talking about the also ran next to Kevin Denke, I think it should be matchup specific. And I think I would love to see Ayoub Jabari get more of a chance to earn that day in and day out starting job because his measurables are so much better. His height, his speed, all of those things. I think Kenji should be getting minutes every game. I think he should be finding a way into 30 minutes a game, whether it's that left-sided wingback role, whether it's playing as a second forward. He even played the 10 for SEC2 a bit. So like a second forward 10 sort of hybrid role. He can do those sorts of things. So there's no reason he's not playing virtually every match, some minutes, and starting sometimes. But I don't think at that position, there's not enough talent at the second forward position to have a guy that starts every game.
Yeah, I concur. I got no doubt. I concur. Yeah.
Man, Rupe, we're supposed to argue about something.
I can't fake it, Coach.
We talked about Andre Chirilla. We talked about Kenji Mombadem. The midfield is always a big question for this team, regardless of, it seems like every week somebody is, knock on wood, that's not the case tomorrow or on Wednesday, but it seems like there's a lot of rotation in the midfield, shall we say. I've liked what I've seen from Sammy Guidi lately. And then you've got Obi Wobodo available. Guys, what are we doing with the midfield? If it were up to you all as we get ready and reevaluate things at the World Cup break, is Dotto gonna stay maybe starting in that kind of deeper midfield role? Is Obi gonna be kind of overtaken by Guidi? Like what are we thinking midfield wise?
I personally, and again, just for this next game, I'd start Obi, just because he's always seemed to play pretty well against Messi. Now that's if Obi's 90 minutes fit, which who knows. I personally like I said, play the kids. Let's give Gidi, and if Dado, if you think he's an 8, go ahead and give him a chance out there. If not, maybe put Dado on the bench and he can come in and fill in somewhere, like Coach just said for Kenji, where you got to play him at least 30, give him 30 minutes here and there. You could probably do the same thing for Dado, put him in an 8, depending on what's needed in the game, right, Coach? If you need a more creative midfield role, you can put him up there. You can put him back in the 8 kind of role that he's been playing, but he doesn't necessarily have to start, but you need to give him minutes every game.
Yeah, here is the one thing I will say, mostly because I just want to disagree with Rupesh on something. But I think that as much as I like play the kids and as much as I like what Sammy Gidi is and his potential and some of the things he's done, a big bad point, a sour point for FC Cincinnati this year has been defensively in the midfield. And I never thought Obi was really that answer to that because he is not positionally sound. He's so good and explosive at getting to the ball and that he just floats like a free safety and goes wherever he wants. The reason why that worked when Junior Moreno was on the team is because Junior Moreno parked himself right in front of the back four. So there's somebody there. So him and Gidi, I don't think really works. Him and Buka's not really that guy who's going to stay back either. And I don't know that you want Buka staying back, but something needs to change. This midfield's got to lock it down. So if I'm the coach, I might be like throwing spaghetti at the wall and just saying like, let's see if like Buka and Obi, putting them back together, does get some sort of solidity there. And maybe we'll work in Gidi. But for sure, I talked about an embarrassment of riches as my hot off the top. For sure, there's no reason to run these guys into the ground. There's no reason if you have an Obi or a Gidi on the bench or a Dado on the bench that these guys aren't coming in various roles and playing, 25, 30 minutes a game.
Well, that about does it for segment 3. We've got about 15 minutes left to talk about the circus that is coming to town on Wednesday. Inter Miami. CF Jeff Tebbets is recording with the something Herons podcast,
Battered
Herons, to preview the match. Inter Miami coming off of a big win at Toronto FC, a 4-2 victory, but they've lost some games. They haven't played well against certain teams. They lost 4-3 to Orlando a couple weeks ago in Miami, and then they had a draw against New England Revolution. We'll talk about this match, but one of the big things that's happening in this match is Ted Karras from the Cincinnati Bengals is pulling the sword. And if you didn't see the announcement video for this, there is it is 513 Day. It's May 13th on Wednesday, which should be a national holiday here in Cincinnati. I just don't want to go to work. That's all I'm saying. But there is a collaboration with the Ted Karras Foundation, or the Cincy Hats Foundation, which Ted Karras is a part of, and the FC Cincinnati Foundation for this sweet, sweet hat. You've seen the Cincy hats around town. There usually was one that was kind of tongue-in-cheek FC Cincinnati branded, but this one is official. And I don't know if you guys saw the announcement video with Nick Hagland, where Nick is playing quarterback and he does a cadence and it's something like Skyline Chili. What high school did you go to? Hut hut. That apparently was completely off the cuff, but one drawback is the hat is $45, but I am going to splurge and buy one because it is for a good cause. 513 Day. Fellas, as we look ahead to Miami, it's Messi and company. A team that we've beaten in the past, but they've also had our number. Scouting report, Rupesh, what do you do with Messi? I would put Obi on him and just say, stick to him like glue and don't be afraid to like give him a clothesline if you need to.
Yeah, I guess somebody stay on him, right? But that's easy to say. It seems like he's just gets free. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. So yeah, I think you try to man mark him and just hope, almost like a box and one in basketball. you play a zone and then one guy's sticking to Messi the whole way around kind of thing. That's what I think I would try to do, but I just don't know how that works because he just seems to get free. So
yeah, man marking one player is so tough, not because it's actually hard to do, but because if that player has any intelligence at all, even if he doesn't hurt you, he can pull you out of all of the key spots. I'm of the belief with this Inter Miami squad that you need to play them pretty straight up, but you need to not be scared of them. You need to attack because their defense will collapse. I mean, look, even their 4-2 win, they gave up 2 goals to Toronto, who's not exactly high flying and free scoring these days. In all of their games, they gave up 4 goals to Orlando, who has also been one of the worst offenses, although they're starting to turn it around. So I think you need to attack them. What FCC has done really well in the past is what I would call hedging Messi, which means when he receives the ball, you kind of press him hard and then drop off of him, as opposed to trying to stay with him because he can dribble past you. And I don't mean you drop off of him like in shooting zone and leave him. I mean when he's in the midfield, like press him hard, don't let him turn and run at you, maybe even kick him a little. Not enough to get a foul, but enough to let him you're there, and then drop off of him as your midfield comes to pressure him. Usually with a center back, you do that. So Nick Hagland's done that really well in the past. I think continue to hedge Messi, make sure he doesn't have a lot of free space, know where he is. But I think trying to man mark him or play any sort of defense to account specifically for what he does is not only a fool's errand because he's the greatest of all time, but also like hurts you in so many other areas.
And I just want to add one thing to what Coach said. Toronto was without Georgi Mihailovic and Josh Sargent this weekend, so they didn't have their two of their DPs and still scored 2. And that Orlando collapse was 3-0 Miami, and Orlando scored 4 unanswered on them. So, like Coach said, you just got to attack them because their defense is not good. And I mean, as good as Dane St. Clair was up in Minnesota last year, he is god awful in Miami.
Yeah,
he's horrible down there right now, which means he's going to be a wall on Wednesday night. But he hasn't played well either. You just gotta. It's almost like what they used to say about UC back in the 90s. You press a pressing team. If they're coming at you full force, you got to go back at them full force. And I think that's the way to play this game, and just hope you can hold on.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I don't want to see FC Cincinnati sit back. It seems like when they sit back, that's when trouble happens. And if they can keep the pressure on them, and with lately, knock on wood, the offenses seem to be clicking a little bit better. I would love to see, 3 goals in this game. I'm going to ask for your all's really quick score prediction, and then we'll close things out. So, Rupesh, what do you got for the score?
I wish I had given Josh this chart, but somebody made a chart that showed how many goals per game and like goal difference in games, and Cincinnati and Miami were the 2 highest in number of goals in their games. So I'm going to go with a 4-4 draw just because they seem like both teams like to score. So
put a buck on that on your gambling app of choice. That you'll probably get a nice payout if that were to come true. Coach, what do you think for Wednesday?
I hate doing score predictions, especially Wednesday matches are drunk in MLS. So we're like, I would say agree with Rupesh in terms of saying that it's going to be high scoring, whatever it is. So it's probably because it's a Wednesday and because we all think that it's going to be 1-0 to one team or the other. Probably a cheap penalty kick or something like that, or maybe a Nick Hagland set piece header, something weird. So I'm just because I'm me, I'm going to say 1-0 FC Cincinnati. I don't believe that at all.
I'm terrible at picking these, but it's fun. Whatever. I do think it's going to be a crazy match, and I would love to see the FC Cincinnati come out and actually score 3-4 goals. So I'm going to say a 4-2 win for FC Cincinnati, but I do think Messi gets his brace, unfortunately. So that about wraps it up for this week. We will wrap things up with your final thoughts. Rupesh, what do you got for us?
I just wanted to plug Nate Gilman's preseason posts newsletter. He put it out today. A great read on how this year's squad is actually very similar to last year's squad. when you look at the underlying numbers, and that they're playing very similar. So, I know people are a little underwhelmed this year, but I think they're very similar to what we had in 2025. So just recommend signing up for Nate's newsletter if you haven't. It's always a great read, and he puts a lot of great information in there. Mm-hmm. So highly recommend it.
We need to have Nate on sometime to talk a little bit more about it. We haven't done that in a bit. It's preseason streams on Substack. It's
not on Substack anymore. It is free, but it's on. It's on. What's that new one? Ghost.io or something?
Yeah,
Ghost.io.
Yeah. So check it out on Ghost.io. Preseason streams. You will not be disappointed. If I did not have the day from hell at work, I would have read it first thing this morning, like I typically do. But yeah, Nate puts a lot of work in it, and he's a really good dude and a really good writer. So yeah, echo what Rupesh says. Coach.
So I said last time I was on that I was going to use my final thoughts from now on to answer a listener question from the comments. So of course we got 0 listener questions this time. So what I'm going to say is that I did read Nate Gilman's piece, and one of the things he said is this team might just be an average team, and FC Cincinnati fans might just have to get used to that for this year. And so I'm going to heavy disagree with him, because I do think this team is playing at basically average soccer. But I also believe that talent and pedigree, which this team has been towards the top of the table for 3-4 years in a row now, I think that wins out in the end. So I agree with most of what he says, but I made the joke that you got to disagree with a little bit of what Nate Gilman says. And for me, it's because he's so into the analytics. I got to try to find the coaching or the eye test part that I disagree with. And I think this team, not only they are playing average soccer, but that has come from playing below average soccer. So they're trending up, and they have the talent to be even better. They're getting healthy at the right time. This better play has coincided with all of these injuries, and yet they're still playing better. So I think that they will figure it out. I believe in the team. I believe in the coaching staff maybe a little bit less, but I'm not like a noon and out guy. I think that they're okay for what they're doing. So I think that we should not expect a championship, but we should hope for one, because this team has that kind of talent.
It is Major League Soccer, and the playoffs are the great equalizer. If you can get a nice seed in the playoffs, I think you're in good shape. I agree with both of you guys. Good shouts there. I'm going to shout out the Scottish Premier League, the William Hill SPFL. Go Hearts of Midlothian.
Go Hearts.
I am very critical of European soccer, and because the English Premier League gets talked about as being the competitive one, and that's only because 4 teams have a chance to win every single year. Hearts have not won a Scottish championship since before I was born. And the last non-old firm team, so that is Celtic and Rangers, to have won a championship was Aberdeen back in the 80s. So we're talking a 40-year drought for any team out of the old firm. It's coming down to 2 games. Hearts are a point above Celtic. They play, I want to say Falkirk maybe next week. Josh helping me out here. Falkirk. They play Falkirk next on May 13th, on Wednesday, actually. And then they close out the season with Celtic.
Oh.
It's coming down to 1 point. It could come down to 1 point. And I'm also a Spurs fan. So my team, the team I'm following in the Premier League, could get relegated by 1 point. And Hearts, a team that I've always kind of followed from afar in Scotland, could win the Scottish Premier League by a point. It is coming down to the wire. All of their games are on Peacock, Paramount Plus. Get a chance, watch them.
And Jason, just 1 point.
Yeah.
That Aberdeen team that won the Scottish Premier League, the last one, was coached by Sir Alex Ferguson. Absolutely. So that's how long ago it was before he went to Manchester United.
Yep. And it's rare that a European league is actually exciting at the end of the year. FC Binningler also points out Colorado won a couple of years ago with a team not as good as FC Cincinnati. That is 100% accurate. So yeah, check him out on Paramount Plus, because I've earned a new disdain for Celtic with all the Wilfred Nancy stuff. So I want to see them have to eat it. I say that, and I probably jinxed hearts. So anyway, yeah. So for Coach, for Rupesh, for Josh Dye, visit us at cincinnati-soccertalk.com/support. If you'd like to support us, reach out to us at feedback at cincinnati-soccertalk.com if you need to get in touch with us. So for these fine gentlemen, we will see you next week. Thanks for visiting, everybody.